When this place was built, it was the largest steel-reinforced concrete building in the world, okay?
Wow.
Designed with one purpose, and that's to keep you in.
Josh Gates, a well-known explorer and media figure, has dedicated his life to solving the world's most fascinating mysteries. He has bravely and astutely navigated ancient ruins, unfamiliar environments, and restricted borders. What secrets are concealed in Alcatraz's tunnels, and what motivated Josh Gates to uncover the truth? Join us as we dive into the terrifying discovery that is deep inside the tunnels of Alcatraz. Psychological warfare on Alcatraz. Josh delves deep into the smart psychological methods utilized by Alcatraz prison administrators while undercover as seasoned FBI agents. This hot-button facility is a federal penitentiary that operated from 1934 to 1963, was billed as the most secure jail in America, built to accommodate the country's most notorious criminals. Prisoners were subjected to purposeful psychological manipulation beginning when they landed on the island. Inmates were strip-searched, deloused, and given standard prison clothes, depriving them of their identities and dignity. This horrible process established the tone for their stay. Prisoners were then placed in solitary confinement cells of only 5 feet by 9 feet, with no windows and strong steel doors. The isolation was intended to disorient and confound detainees, leaving them reliant on their captors for every fundamental need. The lack of natural light and fresh air increased the feeling of separation. Guards employed psychological intimidation and other methods to maintain control. Random searches, surprise cell inspections, and arbitrary rule enforcement created a constant state of unrest. Inmates feared being sent to the notorious D Block, where solitary confinement cells were significantly smaller. The 1962 escape of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers revealed the prison's vulnerabilities. The escapees used homemade tools to dig through vents and create papier-mâché heads to deceive guards. Poor security protocols allowed the prisoners to escape undetected. The Alcatraz escape exposed the facade of great security, revealing a prison more focused on psychological manipulation than actual security. The prison's purpose was not rehabilitation, but to control and manipulation. But what really happened during that kind of courageous escape? How did Morris and the Anglin brothers manage to perform the supposedly escape-proof prison? The beginning of Morris' criminal path. Frank Lee Morris was born in Washington, D.C. in 1926, the son of an impoverished family. His early childhood was marked by instability. He was orphaned at just 11 years old and bounced between foster homes, struggling with an early sense of alienation from society. Morris's academic intelligence was apparent, as he reportedly had an IQ of 133. Despite his intellectual promise, he gravitated towards a life of crime from an early age, beginning with petty theft and burglary during his adolescence. The path he chose led him through a series of juvenile correctional facilities, which only hardened his demeanor and separated him from the world of legal opportunities. Morris's illicit activities became so serious as he grew older. His life became a constant cycle of arrests and imprisonments. Morris, in his 30s, was known as a seasoned criminal with a long history of armed robbery, burglary, and theft. His well-known crime was robbing a bank, which resulted in his imprisonment. Morris was not only physically elusive, but also skilled at exploiting the system, frequently escaping smaller prisons. His time on the run from one institution to the next gave him the reputation of an experienced escape artist, which eventually led him to Alcatraz. The Anglin brothers, a bond forged in crime. John William Anglin was born on May 2, 1930, and his brother Clarence Anglin followed on May 11, 1931. The brothers were 2 of 13 children born to a family of seasonal agricultural laborers in Donaldsonville, Georgia. Their parents toiled on farms around the Southeast, traveling with their children in search of stable employment. John and Clarence had an unshakable kinship from a young age, one that would stand the test of time even in their worst periods. They came from a strong and cohesive family that instilled in them the importance of loyalty and support from an early age. Despite their humble beginnings, the Anglin brothers led relatively uneventful lives in their youth, helping their parents and siblings on the farm. However, the family's economic struggles took their toll, and the lack of opportunities led the Anglin brothers down a different path. During the 1940s and 1950s, the United States was undergoing significant changes, but many rural families, including the Anglins, saw little improvement in their financial status. The brothers later found themselves drawn to crime, not as that they desired to be violent, but out of desperation for a better life. They started with small-time offenses, such as stealing bicycles and shoplifting. Their criminal trajectory quickly escalated to bank robbery. In 1958, they attempted a series of bank heists across the southern states. They carefully planned their jobs, often robbing banks that were closed to avoid direct confrontations. The brothers were known for their meticulous timing and precision, which initially allowed them to evade capture. However, in 1958, they were taken into custody during a failed robbery and were sentenced to lengthy prison terms. Road to Alcatraz. At first, Anglin's brothers were sent to the Atlanta penitentiary, where they constantly attempted to flee. John and Clarence, along with Morris, were sent to Alcatraz in the early 1960s because it was a risk for offenders with a tendency for them to escape. Alcatraz, a maximum security prison built on an isolated island in San Francisco Bay, was infamous for its supposedly impenetrable walls, freezing waters, and rigorous discipline imposed on its inmates. The penitentiary housed some of the country's most dangerous offenders, including notorious mobsters such as Al Capone and George Machine Gun Kelly. Despite Alcatraz's reputation, Morris and the Anglin brothers refused to be discouraged. The severe conditions in the prison only fueled their will to escape. Life in Alcatraz was cruel and unforgiving. The solitude, regular routines of hard labor, and the harsh reality of being surrounded by guards who considered every inmate as a flight risk contributed to an uncomfortable atmosphere. While many inmates accepted their fate, Morris, the Anglin brothers, and a fellow prisoner named Allen West plotted one of the most notorious prison escapes in American history. The key figure to escape. Allen West was born on March 25, 1929, in New York City. Like the Anglins and Morris, West had a troubled youth that led him into a life of crime. His early offenses were primarily related to car theft, and he too had a history of attempted escapes from other facilities. West was transferred to Alcatraz in 1957 after repeatedly trying to break out of other prisons. West's role in the Great Escape would prove pivotal. In 1960, while performing his duties as a maintenance worker within the prison, West made a critical discovery: a ventilation duct that, if manipulated, could serve as a potential escape route. The ventilation system ran behind the cells and led to an unguarded area in the roof of the prison. West realized that this could be their key to freedom, and he shared his discovery with Morris and the Anglin brothers. Over the next 2 years, the four men would meticulously plan their escape, with each one assigned specific tasks in the operation. The ventilation shaft, the maintenance worker, and the escape of the century. What really happened on that fateful night? Planning the Great Escape. The escape plan was complex and required the utmost precision. Each of the men played a distinct role. Morris, the mastermind, was responsible for organizing the schedule and making sure that no detail was overlooked. West, with his knowledge of the prison's infrastructure, focused on ensuring the ventilation system would serve as their primary exit route. John and Clarence Anglin worked together to fashion the tools and materials needed to break out of their cells. Using spoons stolen from the cafeteria and a homemade drill made from the motor of a vacuum cleaner, the men began the slow process of chipping away at the ventilation grills in their cells. For months, they worked on their escape, disguising the noise by playing music during work hours and using dummy heads made of plaster, soap, and toilet paper to fool the guards during bed checks. These heads were meticulously painted to resemble the men, even adorned with real human hair they had collected from the prison barbershop. Each man took turns removing the grill from his cell wall and hiding the evidence behind cardboard covers. But the most critical aspect of the plan was constructing a raft. They needed a way to escape the island itself, as swimming the treacherous, shark-infested waters of San Francisco Bay was nearly impossible. Using raincoats, the men fashioned makeshift life vests and a raft. which they painstakingly glued together using a combination of stolen adhesive and heat from prison pipes. Execution of the plan. The night of June 11, 1962, marked the culmination of months of meticulous planning and preparation by Frank Morris, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, and Alan West. What started as a seemingly impossible dream to escape the inescapable Alcatraz prison had gradually evolved into a carefully calculated plan. These men had spent endless hours chipping away at their cell walls, crafting makeshift tools, and preparing for the moment when they would finally attempt to break free from the confines of one of the most secure prisons in the world. By the time June 11th arrived, the escapees were ready. They had their route mapped out, tools in place, and their minds focused on what was likely the most daring prison escape in American history. As the sun set and the guards conducted their routine inspections, Morris and the Anglin brothers set their plan into motion. But like any great escape, this one was not without its share of unforeseen challenges and last-minute cruises, the most significant of which was Alan West's inability to join his fellow conspirators due to an issue with his ventilation grill. What followed was a night of high-stakes risk, with the fate of the escapees hanging in the balance as they launched into the frigid waters of San Francisco Bay. In the hours leading up to the escape, the mood inside Alcatraz was deceptively calm. To the guards on duty, it was just another night of routine inspections, bed checks, and cell block rounds. However, inside the cells of Morris, the Anglin brothers, and West, it was a night fraught with tension and last-minute preparations. For months, the men had been working to create a hole in the back of their cells, large enough for them to crawl through. This was accomplished using improvised tools, such as spoons and homemade drills, slowly but surely chipping away at the aging concrete walls. They concealed their progress by covering the holes with cardboard and other materials, ensuring that the guards wouldn't notice the modifications during their routine inspections. In addition to the physical preparations, the men had created lifelike dummy heads made from plaster, soap, and human hair collected from the prison barbershop. These dummies, complete with realistic features, were placed in the beds of the escapees to deceive the guards during bed checks. Each dummy was carefully positioned under blankets to give the appearance of sleeping inmates, allowing the real men to slip out unnoticed. By the time night fell on June 11th, everything was in place. The men had their tools, their escape route, and their makeshift raft crafted from raincoats and other materials ready to go. The plan was to remove the ventilation grills from their cells, crawl into the narrow utility corridor behind the cell block, and make their way up to the roof. From there, they would descend the prison walls, cross the prison yard, and launch their raft into the bay for the final leg of their journey to freedom. As the other men prepared to make their escape, Alan West faced a significant and ultimately insurmountable problem. While Morris and the Anglin brothers had successfully removed the ventilation grills from their cells, allowing them access to the utility corridor, West had encountered an issue with his grill. He had not finished enlarging the hole in time, and when the moment of escape arrived, he was unable to remove the grill completely. West frantically worked to free himself, using his makeshift tools to pry at the remaining obstructions. The pressure mounted as every second counted. Morris and the Anglin brothers couldn't wait indefinitely. Despite his best efforts, West was trapped inside his cell, unable to join his fellow escapees. It was a devastating setback for West, who had been an integral part of the escape plan from the beginning. He was left behind as Morris and the Anglin brothers moved ahead with their escape, unwilling to risk their plan for the sake of waiting. This moment of failure marked a significant turning point for West. While the other three men continued with their escape, West would later cooperate with authorities, providing detailed information about the planning and execution of the escape. His role as the man who couldn't quite make it out of Alcatraz that night has added a layer of complexity and intrigue to the story, sparking debates over what might have happened had West managed to escape with the others. For Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, the removal of the ventilation grills from their cells marked the beginning of the most dangerous and critical phase of the plan. Once free from their cells, the men crawled into the narrow utility corridor that ran behind the cell block. This corridor, which was just wide enough for a person to fit through, led to a series of pipes and ducts that eventually provided access to the roof. Navigating the utility corridor required patience, strength, and nerves of steel. The men had to move silently, avoiding detection by guards or other inmates who might alert the authorities. As they crawled through the cramped space, carrying their tools and supplies, the reality of what they were attempting must have weighed heavily on them. They were escaping one of the most secure prisons in the world, and any misstep could result in their immediate capture or death. Once they reached the end of the utility corridor, the men climbed a series of pipes to reach the roof. This ascent was particularly treacherous, as it involved scaling a vertical wall with no safety equipment or proper climbing tools. Despite the danger, Morris and the Anglin brothers successfully made it to the roof, where they paused to gather their bearings. From the roof, the men could see the vast expanse of San Francisco Bay stretched out before them, its dark, frigid waters glistening under the moonlight. The next stage of their escape would be the most perilous, yet descending the prison walls, crossing the yard undetected and launching their makeshift raft into the bay. But for the moment, they had succeeded in getting out of their cells and onto the roof of Alcatraz, a feat that had been deemed impossible by prison officials. Once on the roof, Morris and the Anglin brothers moved quickly. They descended the prison walls using pipes and drainage systems, carefully navigating the drop to the ground below. This stage of the escape was particularly dangerous, as any misstep could result in a fatal fall. However, the men had practiced their movements during the months leading up to the escape, and their preparation paid off. They successfully made it to the ground without injury. The men then crossed the prison yard, staying close to the shadows to avoid detection. Alcatraz was heavily guarded, with watchtowers and searchlights scanning the grounds at regular intervals. Any movement could have alerted the guards, but Morris and the Anglin brothers were able to avoid being spotted as they made their way to the shoreline. At the shore, the men faced their final challenge, launching their makeshift raft into the bay. The raft, which had been constructed from raincoats and sealed with homemade adhesive, was a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the escapees. It had been carefully designed to hold all three men, along with their supplies, as they paddled across the bay toward freedom. The waters of San Francisco Bay are notoriously cold and treacherous, with strong currents and the ever-present danger of hypothermia. For many, the idea of swimming across the bay was unthinkable, but Morris and the Anglin brothers had prepared for this moment. They had trained themselves to endure the cold water, and they believed that their makeshift raft would carry them safely to the other side. As they launched the raft into the water, the three men must have known that their fate was uncertain. The bay was unforgiving, and any number of things could go wrong, capsizing, drowning, or being swept out to sea. But they also knew that this was their best chance at freedom, and they were determined to see the plan through to the end. Once Morris and the Anglin brothers launched their raft into the bay, they disappeared into the night, leaving behind one of the greatest mysteries in American history. Despite an extensive manhunt and search operation, no trace of the men was ever found. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, and Coast Guard scoured the waters and the surrounding areas for weeks, but no bodies, rafts, or belongings were recovered. The official conclusion reached by the FBI was that the men likely drowned in the cold, turbulent waters of San Francisco Bay. Given the strength of the currents and the temperature of the water, survival without proper equipment was considered highly unlikely. However, the absence of bodies has fueled speculation for decades, with many believing that Morris and the Anglin brothers succeeded in their escape. Over the years, numerous reports of sightings and alleged communications from the escapees have surfaced. Some believe that the men made it to shore, possibly escaping to South America or elsewhere to live out the rest of their lives in hiding. Others argue that the strong currents swept the men out to sea, where they drowned and their bodies were never recovered. The U.S. Marshals Service continues to keep the case open, even though there has been no definitive evidence of the men's survival or death. In 2013, a letter allegedly written by one of the Anglin brothers was sent to the FBI, claiming that he and his fellow escapees had survived the escape and had been living in hiding for decades. The authenticity of the letter has been debated, and the FBI conducted tests on the letter, but no conclusive evidence has emerged to confirm the claims. The escape from Alcatraz on June 11, 1962, remains one of the most audacious and mysterious prison breaks in history. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers took a monumental risk, defying the odds and outwitting the most secure prison in the United States. While their ultimate fate remains unknown, their story has captivated generations of historians, law enforcement officials, and the public. Whether Morris and the Anglin brothers survived their daring escape or met a tragic end in the waters of San Francisco Bay, their legacy endures as a symbol of the indomitable human spirit. The escape was a masterclass in ingenuity, determination, and resourcefulness, and it continues to inspire debates and speculation to this day. The story of the 1962 Alcatraz escape is not just a tale of three men attempting to break free from a prison. It is a testament to the lengths people will go to achieve freedom, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles. How did three men manage to escape from one of the most secure prisons in the world, only to vanish without a trace, leaving behind one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history? West's role in the plan's failure. Allen West's pivotal role in the infamous Alcatraz escape plan has sparked intense debate and speculation. As the mastermind behind the discovery of the escape route, West's failure to join Morris and the Anglin brothers on that fateful night has raised questions about his true intentions. West's involvement in the escape plan began when he discovered a vulnerable ventilation shaft in his cell. Recognizing the potential for escape, West shared his findings with Morris and the Anglin brothers, and together they began crafting a plan. However, on the night of the escape, West struggled to remove the grill from his cell. Despite his efforts, he was unable to join Morris and the Anglin brothers, who were forced to leave without him. This unexpected turn of events would have far-reaching consequences. West's subsequent cooperation with investigators has been viewed by some as a betrayal of his fellow escapees. By providing authorities with detailed information about the escape plan, West inadvertently led to tightened security measures at the prison. This raised questions about his motivations and loyalty to Morris and the Anglin brothers. Some theories suggest West deliberately sabotaged his own involvement in the escape due to fear or guilt. Perhaps the reality of the escape plan's risks and consequences overwhelmed him, causing him to reconsider his involvement. Others propose that West may have been motivated by a desire for leniency or rewards from prison authorities. West's decision to cooperate with investigators has also been seen as a strategic move to avoid punishment. By providing valuable information, West may have hoped to reduce his sentence or improve his living conditions within the prison. Despite speculation, West's exact motivations remain unclear. His actions, however, undoubtedly impacted the outcome of the escape plan and the lives of those involved. The aftermath of the escape saw West remain at Alcatraz until the prison's closure in 1963. His experience serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities and uncertainties surrounding the infamous Alcatraz escape. In the years following the escape, officials re-examined the security measures in place at Alcatraz. The discovery of the ventilation shaft vulnerability led to a thorough review of the prison's infrastructure, resulting in significant upgrades to prevent future escape attempts. West's legacy is intertwined with the Alcatraz escape, with many regarding him as a key figure in its failure. His story serves as a testament to the intricate web of motivations, loyalties, and consequences that define the escape plan. Theories surrounding West's actions continue to fascinate. Was West driven by fear, guilt, or self-preservation? Did he intentionally sabotage the escape, or was his failure genuine? What impact did his cooperation with investigators have on Morris and the Anglin brothers' chances of success? The enigma surrounding Allen West's role in the Alcatraz escape plan remains an enduring aspect of this captivating chapter in American history. As we delve deeper into the circumstances surrounding West's involvement, several key factors emerge. West's initial discovery sparked the escape plan, demonstrating his resourcefulness and determination. However, His inability to join Morris and the Anglin brothers on the night of the escape raises questions about his preparedness and commitment. West's decision to provide information to authorities had significant consequences, impacting the escape plan's outcome and the prison's security measures. These factors contribute to the complex narrative surrounding West's role in the Alcatraz escape. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the human elements that defined this infamous event. The Alcatraz escape, with its intricate web of motivations and consequences, continues to captivate audiences. Allen West's role, marked by discovery, failure, and cooperation, remains an essential aspect of this enduring tale. The story of Alcatraz is a complex and disturbing one, revealing the darker aspects of human nature. As we reflect on this period in American history, we are reminded of the importance of protecting human rights and dignity even in the face of crime and punishment. West's experience serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of desperation and the importance of accountability within the criminal justice system. In exploring the Alcatraz escape, we uncover a tapestry of human experiences, each woven with threads of hope, despair, and resilience. The legacy of Allen West and the Alcatraz escape continues to haunt us, inviting us to confront the shadows of our collective past and the complexities of the human condition. The escape from one of the most famous prison break stories in history, not just for the daring nature of the plan, but for the mystery surrounding its outcome. Frank Morris, the Anglin brothers, and Allen West were not just criminals. They were individuals who shared a common desire for freedom despite the odds stacked against them. Whether they succeeded in their escape or met a watery grave in San Francisco Bay, their story continues to captivate and intrigue people around the world. The forgotten inmate. John Paul Scott, a lesser-known figure in the Alcatraz escape saga, played a crucial role in the events leading up to the infamous breakout. Scott, an inmate at Alcatraz, was initially part of the escape plan devised by Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. Scott's involvement in the escape plan was significant, as he was tasked with creating papier-mâché heads and realistic faces to deceive the guards during the evening count. These dummy heads placed in the beds of the escapees were designed to convince the guards that Morris and the Anglin brothers were present in their cells. However, Scott's participation in the escape plan was short-lived. Due to concerns about the plan's feasibility and potential consequences, Scott withdrew from the escape attempt. His decision was reportedly driven by fear of the escape's risks and the potential repercussions if caught. Despite his withdrawal, Scott's contribution to the escape plan remained vital. The papier-mâché heads he created played a pivotal role in the escapees' successful deception of the guards. Morris and the Anglin brothers were able to escape undetected, thanks in part to Scott's craftsmanship. Scott's relationship with Morris and the Anglin brothers has been the subject of much speculation. Some theories suggest that Scott's withdrawal from the escape plan may have been motivated by a desire to avoid punishment or gain favor with prison authorities. Others propose that Scott's decision was driven by genuine fear for his safety. Scott remained at Alcatraz, where he continued to serve his sentence. His involvement in the escape plan, although limited, had significant consequences. Scott's testimony during the subsequent investigation provided valuable insights into the escape plan's origins and execution. The investigation revealed that Scott had been aware of the escape plan's details, including the creation of the papier-mâché heads and the intended escape route. His testimony helped authorities piece together the events surrounding the escape. Scott's legacy in the Alcatraz escape saga is complex. While his withdrawal from the escape plan may have saved him from potential harm, it also raises questions about his loyalty to Morris and the Anglin brothers. His contribution to the escape plan, however, remains undeniable. The enigma surrounding John Paul Scott's role in the Alcatraz escape plan remains an intriguing aspect of this captivating chapter in American history. As we reflect on Scott's involvement, we are reminded of the human complexities that define this infamous event. In exploring the Alcatraz escape, we uncover a tapestry of human experiences, each woven with threads of hope, despair, and resilience. The legacy of John Paul Scott and the Alcatraz escape continues to haunt us, inviting us to confront the shadows of our collective past and the complexities of the human condition. Scott's story serves as a poignant reminder of the consequences of desperation and the importance of accountability within the criminal justice system. His experience underscores the intricate web of motivations, loyalties, and consequences that define the Alcatraz escape. The Alcatraz escape remains an enduring mystery, with John Paul Scott's role forever etched in its complex narrative. His contribution to the escape plan, though limited, played a pivotal role in the escapees' successful deception of the gods. The aftermath and theories. The escape from Alcatraz sent shockwaves through the nation. The prison had long been considered inescapable, and the fact that 3 men had managed to evade capture sparked numerous investigations and conspiracy theories. Some believed that the men had perished in the bay, while others speculated that they had made it to freedom and were living in South America or some other remote part of the world. Over the years, numerous reports and sightings have fueled speculation that the men did, in fact, survive. Letters, photos, and alleged sightings of the Anglin brothers have surfaced, suggesting that they might have escaped to Brazil, but none of these reports have been conclusively verified. The FBI officially closed the case in 1979, concluding that the men had likely drowned. However, the Marshal Service continues to keep the case open, as there is no definitive proof of their deaths. The shocking discovery deep in Alcatraz's tunnels has led to a lot of unanswered questions, but there is one thing that is certain. Josh Gates's groundbreaking finds have broken the silence, revealing a web of secrets that may never be solved. Which of these discoveries had you gasping the most? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. While you're still here, click the link on the screen for another mind-blowing video.